Hey, folks, it's Lindsey Huddleston with SPS back in the building. That's right. The SPS Edge podcast coming at you with co-host Terry McCord and John, the insider. And my guy, Patrick, I always got to shout him out. He's not too far away. I think he just went to go park the helicopter. So now we getting ready to get him back. But happy to see you guys again with minus one of the crew, Orlando Watkins, taking care of some family matters. Orlando, you were definitely missed. We love having you here. And this will be me on the controls. But got a full show, as always. A lot of things to talk about. I would say good and bad, just about what's happening in the world. But Terry, how you doing, man? Let me just say hello to you. How you doing?
I'm good. I was just fixing the lighting a little bit, but I've been good, man. It's been an interesting few couple of days, just based off, another killing of a black man, and I had a couple blessings. So it's been some highs and lows, but not trying to get too caught up on either of them. Just trying to stay level headed and keep grinding, keep my head down. So it's been good. I got nothing really to complain about.
Okay, well that's good. We'll definitely talk about what's happening in Minneapolis as well as throughout the country. John, how are things going for you?
Well, things are going good. It's always an adventure getting up every day and seeing what's happening around the world. And it's some major changes and some things that need to get better.
I agree.
We always need to learn, Lindsey, and get better. And that's what I hope for every day, is that as human beings, we all get a little smarter and treat each other a little nicer.
Yeah, you only hope for that. It's tragic, and we'll definitely talk about those things. But we've got a number of things we'll talk about today. I guess the first thing I want to thank you, Terry, for hitting us off with a great show rundown. Is another name in the portal. That's right, Tommy Kithier. Thomas Kithier, that is joining the portal. I thought this was a good image to put up of him because it shows that he's been part of these Big Ten champions that Tom Izzo always seems to bring out. And I guess the question becomes, and I'll start with John and obviously go to Terry, is where do we think his trajectory is going to be? Is he going to be a hot item? Is he going to be, someone that can transition to another Big Ten program? Or is he going to be a MAC all-star? I just like to say I'm a fan of Tommy. I love his mother, Jane. She's a sports mom. She's always there supporting him and whatnot. And I think that he did bring a lot of positivity and brought some substance to Michigan State during this time here. But first of all, John, did you even see it coming? Was he on your radar to be another portal guy and take off like a rocket? No pun intended.
Yeah, I didn't think he would be back because I was under the impression that he was going to graduate this spring, which I understand is going to happen. So I didn't think he'd be back. I wish him all the luck in the world. I don't know. In watching him in 3 years, I don't know what his opportunities are going to be to play professional basketball. But from what I understand, he's really a smart guy. And I think he did a yeoman's job for Michigan State. I thought he screened. I thought he rebounded. I thought he came up and handled the screen of the ball real well. But I wish him all the luck, but I think he was over his head in this competition.
Wow, that's a good point. And he did do the yeoman's job. He sure did. And I think that's what kind of endeared me. That made you appreciate him as a ball player because he didn't definitely go in there to score points, but he'll get the follow up. He'll trail and do all the right things. And he used that big body well. But I know he's going to be an asset to anybody. And the reason I bring up another Big Ten school is only because somebody wants to probably get into the mind of Michigan State. Why not bring a kid that was in there as a big doing that? Or does he want to get some shots up and go somewhere where he can, kind of ball out for a minute? Terry, what do you think about Tommy Kithier hitting the portal?
I think it's very interesting because if I remember correctly, he came in that class with Foster Lawyer and was a part of that Clarkston, the boys that came up and attended and committed to go play for MSU. I'm also kind of surprised Foster hasn't entered his name in there, but I also think that Foster still feels like he can contribute to this team. Kithier is one of those guys, man, where he does everything right, but sometimes that's just not enough. And it is so sad to say that because, everyone gets taught to do the little things, box out well, rebound well, screen, does everything that a coach would love any player to do. I mean, Izzo would say himself, he's a coach's dream. But a lot of times those players, I mean, he lacks size, athleticism. There's just a lot of things that you just can't really hide in the Big Ten. And a lot of times that, that was exposed when he was in and when he started games, he just didn't bring what the team needed. And a lot of that wasn't his fault. I mean, other guys needed to step up and other guys needed to help him out, but he just didn't really find his way. And they just, he just felt like he wouldn't be able to get any playing time over guys coming in, which is probably true. I think Sissoko probably passed him, Bingham's passed him, Brown's passed him, like guys coming in. Like, I mean, there are a lot of players that Julius Marble, guys are passing him, and I think he said it's my, kind of making that move where it's like, I'm just not good enough. I want to go somewhere where I can be me and end on a high note because I don't think he's going to the NBA. So I think it was a very mature move, get that degree and finish your college career off strong, man. I'm proud of Kithier.
Yeah. Speaking of that, there's some more guys coming in from the transfer portal. In this particular case, my guy Mel Tucker, and I know you're a big fan of Mel Tucker too, John, has recruited wide receiver Malik Carr. You're saying, why are we talking about football? That's because he's expected to play both sports. So here you have Tom Izzo committing to what I believe is a second player that's going to come in. That's going to be a two-sport athlete. John, when do you remember a lot of two-sport athletes in general, particularly at Michigan State?
Well, I mean, Andre Rison, I can remember him and Matt Trainer.
My boy Deion Sims.
Deion Sims was
Thank you, Patrick.
One of the best high school athletes I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. I mean, he had great hands. He was big. He was a top-notch basketball player. But it's rare. But Michigan State is supposedly this kid, I can't remember his name. I believe he's from Louisiana.
Yeah, Keon. I think it's Keon Davis. Keon.
Yeah, Keon Coleman. Yeah.
Thank you, Keon Coleman. Thank you, Terry.
Right.
He's a freak too. He's a freak.
Yeah,
he's gonna be exciting to watch.
I've watched him, but I mean, there's been in years past, a lot of those Spartan football players participated in track too. Mm-hmm. And like Gene Washington was a top-notch hurdler, right, in the Big Ten. But it's getting more rare because kids get lumped into one sport at a very young age, and I hate to see it. I really do, because I see sports complementing one another, and I would like to see more multiple sport guys, because you learn so much. There's so many things. The legendary Will Robinson taught me this when I was in high school. He said to me, John, you're not going to be a 100-yard dash sprinter. He said, but you can win 90% of the races in a phone booth. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, give me that guy that's got the first step, and I'll beat you every time.
Oh, man.
So, when you play other sports, it complements those things. It complements this two-step thing that you have to do, or one-step thing you have to do to make the total package successful. And I would like to see more.
I like that. I want to stay on that note. I want to shout out my guy, Roderick Wilson, my frat brother, and one of my confidants. That's my conciliaire. I call him for a lot of counsel, and he always gives me wise counsel. Roderick posted before he decided on University of Michigan, Drake Harris was in line for two sports at MSU. It's funny that you say that, John and Terry. I want to get your thought on that too. It seems like the only coaches that want you to play one sport are the coaches that want you to play their sport. Everybody else is all like, hey, we want you to play multiple sports. But shout out your high school basketball coach, Dave Jones, my guy. He encouraged multiple sport athletes. And I just think that, it's so easy to talk to these guys about specializing and being specialists. But to your point, you lose out. And I haven't confirmed it, but I believe that this young man, Malik Carr, is the nephew, I want to say, of associate head coach Dwayne Stevens at Michigan State. So that's some family love too. But I also think that here we are for the first time in a long time, because John, you did confirm it with as far as the historical aspect with the Andre Rison and others, that you have Coach Tom Izzo signing off on two-sport athletes. I wonder if this is part of the rebranding that Tom Izzo is looking at. He's almost become a chameleon in the sense that as much as we say he's so similar in what he says and what he does, but this rebranding, signing off on two-sport athletes, which I think is leveraging the Mel Tucker effect, leveraging some Mel Tucker swag that's going on. What do you think about that, Terry?
I think that a lot of it has to do with these coaches not limiting players, their special abilities. Because I think a lot of guys come in and they have the opportunity to play both. Guys that go as far as LeBron James, Allen Iverson, guys that have Division I offers to go play somewhere, whether it's football or basketball. It doesn't matter. But I think it's giving them the option to be themselves and kind of, because college, whether we think about it or not, college, as an athlete and being able to be so great at two sports, we're coming in picking a major, right? And we're trying to pick what pathway we want to go. Who's to say that they're not doing that with sports? The guys coming like Keon Coleman and like you said, with Mr. Carr coming in, who's to say that these guys aren't like, man, which one am I feeling more? They might specialize maybe to see which one they're better at. I think Keon might specialize more in football, Carr maybe basketball, just watching their tape and seeing how they play. But I don't know. They may prove me wrong and play all 4 years with both sports. But I think who's to say that they're not trying to still feel out that sport and then pick? You know what I mean? Because they're still trying to find their way. And why not take an opportunity to play the two sports that you love if the opportunity is given? Izzo said it himself. I bring this up all the time. Recruiting Gary Harris in, he loved that Gary Harris was such a good football player because he saw that toughness, that tenacity that he brought on in basketball. He learned it. They learned it from football. Coach Jones said the same thing. He loved that football players are tough. He bring in football players to play against us on winter break, the scrimmage. I'm like, man, these dudes are football players. They keeping up with us, just grinding us, showing us how to be tough. And a lot of times, Izzo may see something in that. They're like, man, he could really bring something with that toughness to this team and kind of bring that image back of Tom Izzo, gritty, hard-nosed basketball that we all know and love. And Coach Tucker the same way. So I think they're getting the same kind of caliber of guys that come, keep that brand of MSU sports, the way it is.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you, too, to Rod Wilson. He's saying, appreciate you, get healthy. As you guys may know, whether our listeners know or not, I took an L last Sunday. That ended up being me in the emergency room, which eventually led to being a ruptured Achilles, and I'm scheduled for surgery next week. And I appreciate all the well wishes that I got from many people, including you guys, just talking to you now. But yeah, man, it's a tough world out here when it comes to this. And so my question to you, and before I even say that, let me shout out our guys, the Streets Are Talking Podcast Network. That's Don Houston, the car man that is, and Clarence Sumo Babor. Man, they have grown. Not only are they on the West Coast, Africa, we're going to be doing a lot in the state of Mississippi. So I want to shout them out, and we'll talk a little bit more about that a little later. But definitely want to shout out the Streets Are Talking Podcast Network and anyone who may be joining us, because I was on a call with them in the state of Mississippi just the other day. But, John, let me ask you, and Terry, I'll get your thought too. When you have two sport athletes, is it a statistical fact that one sport will suffer? Or maybe suffer isn't the best word, but one sport will get the short end. One sport, and I'm trying to find some terminology that sounds less negative, but, is it almost one is the wife and the other is the mistress? If I use that kind of terminology, but, they said when I was in law school, they say law school is a jealous mistress. Is that second sport, or will one of those become the jealous mistress?
Well, let's do the logistics, okay? Let's say that these two young men play football for Michigan State this year. And let's say that Coach Tucker leads Michigan State to a bowl game. And they play that bowl game somewhere between Christmas Day and New Year's Day. That means that young man is going to not be able to focus on basketball until, let's say, January 1st. That gives him January and February to get ready to help that team when it comes time to the end of the season in the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA tournament. So just look at those logistics and see. And then let's go before the fall. in the summer. Those kids are running over at that place near you guys. What's the name of it, Patrick? Where they play in the summer up there? Diamonddale and Diamonddale.
Oh yeah, a Moneyball, the Moneyball tournament.
Right.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. That was the last summer of it, but yeah. Shout out to
How
Desmond
much
Ferguson and
time
Moneyball.
does that young man spend playing basketball in the summer when Coach Tucker's got explicit times where you're with the strength coach and you're getting ready for that August camp? So time management becomes real important, and communication between Coach Izzo and Coach Tucker become real crucial. And then you have to make an honest decision. Maybe this kid has a chance to be an NFL football player, but maybe he doesn't have a chance to be an NBA basketball player. So when do you make the decision to say, hey, maybe I should just concentrate on this, or go ahead and just play both and make basketball or make football, either sport, less important to you as an athlete? But logistics are a big thing.
Yeah, they are big, and I guess that's going to have to be basically there's going to be some form of favoritism because somebody's going to be able to walk away from a practice while other guys are out there sweating. On that note, before we move on to our next topic, I want to talk about what Coach Mel Tucker talked about the NFL. It's so ironic that you brought that up. He and I were in a conversation, one of the interviews recently, and I want to play what we talked about. 1 second. Guess it would help if I unmute it. Here we go. You start out talking about confidence, and you've been recruiting some confident guys, a lot of guys with NFL potential. We're 16 days out from the NFL draft. How do you get guys who have NFL dreams focus on their dream, but also focus on playing championship college football while you have them right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's really communication and a lot of one-on-one conversations, and also, as a team, we're constantly showing these guys what it takes to be the best, what it takes to get to that next level. Like I told the guys today, I said, everyone in the room wants to play at the next level. I coached for 8 years in the National Football League. And so I've been there, and I know what it looks like, and I know what the expectations are, I know what the standards are. And if you want to be at that level, and you want to get the most out of your ability and give yourself the best chance, you have to do more. You have to do more. You have to do more than just what's required. You have to do extra before practice, after practice, in the evening. Taking care of your body, the nutrition piece, rest and recovery, all of that is just you have to do more, and that will give you a chance. And there's always opportunities to show guys NFL film. I've sat down with guys and showed them NFL evaluations. I've done comparisons, with guys. It's the delivery of the information and just finding different ways to capture the players' minds, and so that they pay attention and they understand what the truth is, and so they don't get caught up in the hype. And it's important for the voices inside of our building to be stronger than the voices outside the building. And really, that's when guys get into. I think when guys get into trouble and get delusional is when they're not listening to the right people. And we have a lot of experience on our staff. We have NFL experience on our staff, NFL experience in the weight room. We have NFL experience in nutrition. So why when you listen to us, we're trying to help you get there. Why would you listen to someone who maybe does not know as much as we know about what you need to do to get there? We're working with you every day. So we do know. Really, there's no doubt about it. What's required, we can show you how to get there, tell you what to do, and you got to put the work in and do it. And if not, then you'll be disappointed.
Yeah, there we go. I think it was a lot said in that right there, no doubt. with Coach Tucker, and I appreciate him sharing that because he definitely has the background to speak on that. But one thing that stood out to me, Terry, as well as John, that he kept saying, you got to do more. You got to do more. So that tells me that there's going to come a time where either they're going to try to get some more hours, 26, 27 hours in the normal day, or something's going to have to give, because those are his own words saying of what you got to do. And to John's point about can you go playing Moneyball, which I hope comes back soon, if not this season, next season. Can you go do some extra things? Can you be involved in the bowl game and all these type of things? You know, there's only so many hours in a day. So I think it's going to have to probably be some preferential treatment going forward. I want to share that. You guys got any comments on Coach Tucker's comments?
No,
well,
I think.
Go ahead, Terry.
I was gonna say. I mean, you know, to go back to your question about guys, you know, coming in having those NFL aspirations. I mean, he's basically saying, you know, our goal is to get these guys ready for the league. I mean, and still win games. So, I mean, in doing that, I think Coach Tucker believes in his program. He believes in his culture, and he believes in the system that he's trying to establish. That it's to the point where him getting these guys to help win his team games is ultimately going to get them ready for the NFL, building that discipline, getting on a good nutrition plan. I mean, he's basically saying they got everything. They got the resources, they got all that. It's up to the players now to make it happen. And he knows that his guys want it. And so he's like, we got coaches on the staff that got these guys, you know, got the experience that can get these guys, you know, NFL ready, can tell them how it is on the next level. And so he's basically saying, like, this is up to the players, like, whether they want it or not. If they don't want it, then we're going to see. But we're going to see who really wants it because we got it all right here for them to take it and grab it.
Yeah, I like that. I know John's going to join us in a second. Shout out to my guy, Luis, giving us a thumbs up. And Terry Benton Ali, I always got love for her, showing love to Kazoo. And also want to shout out a few people who've been some excellent, consistent listeners. Aaron Mays has been supporting us from day one. He always listens to the podcast. Also, my guy, Steven Smith, always showing love, and all the people who've been supporting us. As we work to get John back, and we can kind of move and kind of keep with that professional discussion, move on to your favorite uncle, my guy, you know, cousin Shay Shay. And, you know, now it seems to be also the favorite malcontent of the NBA, which is KD, Kevin Durrant. Some words being exchanged, some fire going back and forth. Glad to have you back, John, as well. And Terry, let's talk about this. It seems that there was a fake quote that Shannon didn't follow the rules of journalism like he needed to and confirm. And he put out there his feelings on it, which gave Kevin Durrant a lot of ammunition to pop back. Why don't you educate us on that and tell us what you think about it?
Yeah, well, Shannon got caught with some fake news and basically talked about how Kevin Durant really felt that his rings proved that he was better. Like him beating LeBron back-to-back, what does that say about me? Everyone's saying LeBron is the best player, which is something that Kevin Durant wouldn't say. Honestly, if I saw it on social media, I would know that Kevin Durant would not say that. As much as he tweets, I saw a picture today showing that Kevin Durant has more tweets than he does points career-wise. So as much as he talks, Kevin Durant didn't say that. So, I mean, it's one of those things where Shannon Sharpe did make a mistake, and that's somebody that I really look up to and I really, you know, follow and hear him talk about different problems in today's society. It's his bad on this one. I mean, you got to check your sources, and two, you know, with you going out there and saying those things about Kevin Durant on your show, one, it makes it look like a publicity stunt on your part, and Kevin Durant can, you know, he does have, you know, some soft skin. Things do get under his skin a little bit, which is okay, you know. And so he saw that, you know, Shannon Sharpe blocked him the other day, and he posted, "I'm sensitive." So he was, you know, trying to throw back shot at him. And I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, it's Shannon Sharpe's fault because you can't go out there and say what he said, which he didn't say, and then talk about him and kind of go in on him, and then expect KD to really talk to you in private and try to solve it in private. That's like someone sneak dissing you on Facebook, and then you like, hey, man, like, can we just solve this one-on-one after Kevin Durant gets you back, and everybody's like, man, you wrong. Kevin Durant's not going to be so open to be like, yeah, I hear you. Let's
right.
call me. It's one of those things where it's like you can't talk about somebody and then expect them to be cool. Then it's gonna take time, Shannon. It's gonna take time. But the first thing you gotta do, you gotta admit you're wrong.
Yeah. John, before I bring you in that, because I know, John, you always on social media with your Facebook, your Instagram and Twitter accounts. I just think that it leads me to believe that Shay had some underlying feelings about Kevin Durrant, that even though he got this fake news, as you say, he jumped on it, and it was like, well, where are these feelings coming from? Because were you already harboring this, and this fake news that you got gave you an opportunity to jump out there? Because my thing is that if you didn't have some deep-seated feelings, how could you really go in on that? Yeah, I think it's an L for Uncle Shay. Still love him, though. John, what's your take on all this? And I think it's important to point out that I love to hear the perspective of someone who's not immersed like we are in the social media, but you're still very hip to everything that's going on and can give some perspective.
Well, you know, everybody in Shannon Sharpe's business is chasing Charles Barkley. There's only one Charles Barkley, okay? And, you know, it's a competitive business. The amount of information that people get, especially young people, in all different types of devices, but mostly their phone. And, you know, there's always that race that goes on. Who can get what and who can get it
first. Out there fast. That's a good point.
Better and everything else. And, you know, sometimes if you talk for a living and you talk every day, it's just a matter of time before you put your foot in your mouth. Okay, because that's what you're doing. You're talking all the time.
So statistically speaking, there's no way you can keep going without saying the wrong thing.
No, you're gonna say something stupid or do something stupid somewhere along the line. We're all human beings. You know, I love to watch Kevin Durrant play basketball, and I listen secondhand because my son Patrick's a big fan of Shannon Sharpe. So, you know, hey, I give both of them a pass. I don't take it as serious, and I say, hey, God bless the both of you. Keep making a dollar.
Patrick said, what you saying about my guy, Shannon Sharpe? I'm a Shannon Sharpe fan too. Patrick, what you thinking?
Yeah, I like Shannon Sharpe. I think it's his. I think it's a part of his job to get a little controversial at the time sometimes and call guys out. But I honestly think that Kevin Durrant should show some more class, man. I think he like even the whole Michael Rappaport thing. Yeah, like,
right?
Why? You know, you play for a league that has backed us with Black Lives Matter, and you stand next to LeBron and all these guys, and you know, you talk about social justice and stuff, bro. You can't be behind the scenes calling people pale and, you know, you can't let your sensitivity get you to the point where you're insulting somebody, even if they insulted you. You gotta be, you know, you gotta be better. You gotta do better, you know, because what if he would have called you the N-word or something, then he would have been wrong. You know, it's just I think it's classless to be in people's DMs and all this type of stuff. I think he's a grown man. Another thing, he's a grown man worth $200 million. Like, you know, and arguably, if not the best basketball player in the world, top 3. And there's certain things that you should, you know, let slide, man, and not, you know, it shouldn't affect you so much to where you're degrading somebody. You know, yeah. I don't really like it at all. It makes me think of him a different way, honestly.
Yeah, more tweets than points. He got more tweets than points, career points.
Wow. On that, I just want to shout out the man of the hour for us, the Horatio Williams Foundation. Because of Horatio Williams, we're able to continue to share this message on our podcast. I want to shout out to them. I want to shout out to our other sponsors, Gilead Sciences, for their support, as well as Dick's Sporting Good. And we'll be adding some more sponsors soon, fortunately. But yeah, man, with KD, I think another thing that allows everyone to kind of give Shannon a pass is that people kind of tired of KD. You know what I'm saying? You're kind of tired of, I'll go as far as to say, his antics. To your point, you put it very eloquently, Terry, he has soft skin. And even though he has soft skin on top, he lets us know that he does with how he responds. He got all these burner accounts allegedly that he has out here where he's looking at stuff the other way and doing that. It is somebody posts, hey, where's that good-looking guy that's usually on there? I don't know, Orlando Watkins. I don't know where that other person is you're talking about. I don't know, man. He probably is out doing some other things. Shout out to Orlando Watkins, man. That's our guy, man. And he also brought up the whole incident with Michael Rapport. I think we got some KD fatigue. KD, we just need you to play basketball. And I hate to sound like, those conservative reporters, but at this point, dude, I think in a career, you get enough time to talk. But to Terry's point, if it's true, you got more tweets than points. And right now, you going in all the time, man. People tired of it, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just tired of it. And for Uncle Shay, it's something that we ain't really thinking about. I got a question from my guy, Albert Mass. He was asking about Rocket leaving. We had talked about that. I guess we didn't really get a chance to talk about it because we weren't on last week. We could talk about that as we get ready to transition to our last. You saw that coming, John Hunt. Rocket was taking off. Yeah,
and I heard, let's see, Tuesday that John Calipari in Kentucky have offered him.
Wow. And Cal go say, look, baby, his favorite line is, I want you, but I don't need you. But he going to let him shoot that ball. And that is going to put him on track to go to the NBA. And I know Louisville was in the mix too, but if Cal has offered him, you think what's the over-under that he's going to end up going there?
Well, I think that if Kentucky wants him, they'll get him. Yeah. I think that Rocket Watts would accept that challenge to go there, and it's a big stage to say, hey, here I am. This is who I am. Just watch. Yeah, I got it. What do you think about that, Terry?
I agree with that. I think that, that's a chance for Rocket to be put on a high stage. You can't get much bigger than Kentucky in college basketball. That's a high.
Everybody, to our listeners, everybody shaking their head like, nope, can't get
you got Coach Cal, all the one and dones, man. And I think this is a good chance for Rocket, man, to really show what I know he can be. And him coming in to Michigan State his freshman year when he was getting recruited, he was on that team with LaMelo. I'm pretty sure Kentucky was in his ear too, when he was getting those looks coming out of Spire. So I think this is a good chance for Rocket, man, to show, that leash is going to be off. He doesn't have to worry about that leash. Coach Cal has a very much NBA system where he lets guys kind of control the offense a little more than what I would like. But, he definitely gives them the keys. He had a guy, Devin Askew, this past year that really took off. I think this his past year's team's a little immature, but I think Rocket, having gone through what he's been through this past year, will definitely be a great vocal point for that Kentucky team that is going to have a great recruiting class coming in. I think they got to be ranked top 10 this year. So, with a good group of guys coming in, with a guy like Rocket who's going to be hungry, I never want to get in the way of a man that hungry, coming off of, a guy that has taken a lot of heat, more heat than I think he deserves this past year. I definitely think that he's going to be hungry, and I wouldn't be surprised, man, if he gets some looks, some Wendy's Wooden Award watches, because he's going to be on that pedestal. He's playing in the SEC Power 5 conference on Kentucky, and I think he's going to be in that Champions Classic game, the TV, and everyone's going to be watching. And so we're going to see that Rocket Watts who we knew and saw his freshman year.
And also, because I'm a huge fan of Rocket too. Also, too, the tutelage he's going to get from 2 Hall of Fame coaches. He's going to get. How many players can say they were coached, John, by multiple Hall of Fame coaches? You know what I'm saying? To say to have had that. And I know this is the day of the portal where transfers are more likely to happen. But, dude, you go from one Hall of Famer to another? Dude, that right there I think is going to really help his pedigree going forward. That was a great question, Albert. I'm glad you put that out there. And as always, we appreciate you. Well, now we got 2 more topics we're going to talk about for the remainder of time. And I got to be honest, man, it's newsworthy. It's appropriate for us to talk about because part of this platform is embracing social consciousness and social justice. But I tell you, man, I'm just worn out talking about, another killing of a black man, young man, Duante Wright, was killed. But the whole time when you do see it on video, because now in 2021 we see it on video, John. You know, you see it. It's not just a story. It probably wouldn't have made the news if it wasn't video. And the whole issue behind it is she, the officer, former officer now, was going for her stun gun allegedly and pulls out her pistol, pulls out her service weapon. So my job as host is to put it out there. But man, let me tell you, man, I'm just about wore out. And I apologize if I don't have more to give or to add to the discussion, but it's newsworthy. And my co-host Terry brought it up, and we should talk about it. I know, John, you're going to have a perspective and opinion on it as well. But I can just say, man, I just put it this way: it's more power in my ruptured Achilles to deal with something than it is to deal with this issue. And my Achilles is gone. I mean, I don't got nothing for this right now. But Terry, I want to get your thoughts, and John, and get yours too.
Man, this past week, I've been practicing, you know, how I wanted to come out and speak about it, because this is something that I did take a break from. You know, the whole George Floyd case going on right now, the trial going on TV. I see it every day. I took a break from it. I didn't really watch much of it because I knew how exhausting and how painful it was to see every day. Then, you know, a defense team really trying to make a case to justify what the officer did. And that's just painful to watch. And it's exhausting because you see a 19-year-old guy, young black man, getting killed on camera. I turned 19 on Monday. And just to see that, you know, the goals and aspirations I have for myself being an 18, about to turn 19, I don't know what Mr. Wright and his dreams were, but I know he had things that he wanted to accomplish further than the day that he passed away. And when it's something the way that he passed and me being the age that I am and seeing that, it hurts. And I would say that it's exhausting, but also very painful because, you know, it's so sad that I have to watch the news and I see a killing of a young black man, and all I can do is just shake my head. Like, it's almost like, you know, it's so bad that people are often treating this like a rain forecast. Like, man, another black man passing, shaking my head.
Like a rain forecast. Wow.
Like, it's so sad because you see it and you're like, man, another one. And like, for me, seeing that so close to age, and like I know a lot of people who are watching my age who I share on social media with can relate, seeing that someone at that age passing with so much life to live. Constantly people telling me I have so much life to live. You're so young. You're so young. And to see somebody get their life taken away, whether he was guilty or not, no one deserves to lose their life. I believe in second chances. I believe that everyone has some purpose in life. That does not mean that because he may have been in the wrong in that situation, that young man does not get his chance. And it's sad to see, and it's sickening because I can't even watch the news anymore without feeling some type of way, because people are really out here justifying what these officers have done to these black men. And it's so unruly, and it sickens me, man. It really does.
Yeah, I appreciate that, John. So the former officer has been fired. She's also been charged with second-degree manslaughter. And for our listeners, that comes with jail time up to 10 years, no more, or a potential fine. Again, I repeat, jail time up to 10 years, no more, or a potential fine. And also, I believe that is also what former Officer Chauvin is being charged with as well. So even if there's, you know, a conviction, she may not even do jail time because we bring the manslaughter piece into it. So, John, I want to get your thoughts on the overall topic and anything else you want to add to that.
You know, just to piggyback what you were just talking about, Lindsay, I believe in 17 states there's bills that are in their legislation that are going to take away the cover for any government worker within that state, including policemen. Okay.
That immunity that they get.
Exactly. And, you know, I mean, there's just so much wiggle room for these people that nothing happens to them. But let's step back just a second. And it is uncalled for, absolutely uncalled for, but this is something that's been around forever. There needs to be action taken by people. And I'm just gonna say it. White people need to stand up. White people need to stand up and say, you know what? This is bullshit. Okay? I have been a part of things in my life that I've seen and I've heard, and it's people's. It's no longer ignorance, okay? Because you have to as a person, and I'm speaking as a white male now, okay? You have to let go of some of this stuff, and you have to understand what's happening in the world. You have to go back and you have to understand the whole history of the world. Why this has always taken place since the world started. It used to be, well, I'm gonna go get some people, and I'm gonna invade their country, and I'm gonna make them work for free. And then it was 12 million black people out of Africa in a matter of about 50 years, not only to this country, okay? And white people have had some thoughts in their mind that they're better than people of color, that they deserve things better than other people. And this is just fundamentally bullshit. It's wrong. And to have this stuff keep happening day after day after day, it's frustrating. But people need to stand up. We need to stand up as people. I'm talking about all people here. And it starts with elections. It starts from the top, and it goes all the way down to who the hell you want on your school board in your community. And people who are not with letting a person show what kind of person they are. A good person. I'm going to tell you something. I was a successful businessman. I made millions and millions of dollars. I had corporations that did $1 billion in business in a year. Okay? You know the smartest guy I ever met in my life? Happened to be a black guy. The smartest businessman I ever met. Henry Haygood, graduate of Michigan State University.
Yeah, I know Haygood.
Was the smartest guy I ever met. And I've met him from coast to coast and from all over the world. Okay? You have to let people's character, you have to let their brains, you have to let it go. You've got to watch. You've got to be able to judge a person in an incident. And people in Minnesota, man, listen, I'd be on the street right now. I'd be on the street pissed off right now. We cannot, as a society, tolerate this. We can't tolerate it anymore. And you know what? I hear the some people make America great again. That was bullshit from the beginning. I mean, what do you want? Only have so many black people can work here, so many black people they can only live here, or they can only go to school here. I mean, come on, man. This is the United States of America. People from all over the world. How the hell you think I got here? Someone in my family got on a boat someplace and drove here. Okay? Got a ride here. So, I mean, what's the difference? To me, a person is a person. And I want to tell you a quick story. And I learned this, and this is why I am the way I am, is because of my father. My father taught at Northeastern High School. Okay? And he started there in 1950. And wow. In those days in Detroit, they had policemen walk the beat, and they carried a billy club with a leather strap, and they swung the billy club, and they walked in the neighborhoods. And Northeastern was making a transition because they closed down Miller High School and was putting elimination to Black Bottom in Detroit, where black people lived. So black kids came to Northeastern. Okay, that was the school they went to when Miller closed.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a policeman that walked the beat by Northeastern. And this kid come running into the gym one day and he said, Coach Rutherford, they're beating the policeman's beating the shit out of so-and-so. My dad runs outside and here's this white policeman beating the shit out of this black kid with a billy club. My father took the billy club from him, threw it away, and said, try to beat on me. And he went down to the precinct and he told him, look, if you're going to have a cop on this beat, you're going to learn how to respect people here. If you can't respect people, then you don't send anybody here. And if I have to go to the mayor, I'll go to the mayor. That's how I was raised. That's how I learned, okay? And people need to do this. They need drastically. In 2020, I've never seen nothing like this. Never seen anything like this. Never seen it. Broke my heart to know 70 million people voted for Donald Trump. Broke my heart.
Yeah, yeah. No, I appreciate that. I appreciate the historical reference and appreciate what you always bring as well. Right now we got Aaron Mays, just like clockwork. He made a comment. He always enjoy our show each and every night and everyone's insight. Terry, he said he loves your view regarding the injustice in Minnesota. Very eye-opening. And John, as usual, always on point. And Lindsay, thanks for levity. No problem, Aaron. We appreciate your support. I want to better put that out there. Yeah, man, that's what we're dealing with, from Terry McCord to John as well. All I can say is that I think those legislative changes are going to be huge. And the one thing I'll say about the political aspect, don't sleep on who you elect to the school board, because everybody on school board want to be state rep. Yep. And everybody as a state rep want to go in a higher office. So those people that you kind of look past, those quote unquote lower level offices, people going to be involved in that political process and making those decisions. So let's hope that when you start talking about these officers losing that immunity, you will see a change with that. So with that, we'll move on to a much a brighter note. We definitely had to talk about that. And John, again, I appreciate your passion, and Terry, your discussion on topic 2. But now we're going to talk about SWAC. We'll give it up to the Southwest Athletic Conference. That's the SWAC conference, where you got Southern, you got Grambling, you got Alabama State, you got Prairie View A&M, you got University of Alabama. I got to remember which location that is. You got Alcorn State, you got Texas Southern, you got Jackson State, you got Alabama A&M, and you also got Mississippi Valley State, to name a few. And any of our viewers or listeners who are down in Mississippi, we definitely want to shout you out. We want to be showing some love to the SWAC. Shout out to my guys on the Streets of Talking Podcast Network. That is Carman, my guy Don Houston, as well as Clarence Babor. And they got a great group of people that we've been talking to already down in Mississippi. So, John, from a historical standpoint, give us a historical rundown about the SWAC. And then, Terry, I want you to use your analytical chops to kind of tell us what's popping in the SWAC right now. So we got past and present. How about that?
Well, I can remember one night, and I was in high school, and it was a Sunday night, and we had to go to the airport to pick up my grandmother. And I went with my dad. We're walking through the airport, and he meets Will Robinson. And he says, Robbie, how you doing? They start talking. My dad says, were you away on a vacation? He said, no. He said, Doug, I got to tell you this. He said, I work for the Lions. I scout the SWAC for the Lions. He said, I found this corner. This guy is something else. He gave the Detroit Lions Lem Barney.
Wow.
Okay?
The great Lem Barney.
And then, you just look at the guys from that conference that are in the Hall of Fame and were great NFL football players. And when you go from that period of time, when you saw the Lynn Barneys, the Walter Paytons, the Jerry Rices, Deacon Jones, Mike Strahan, Doug Williams, Steve McNair, just to name a few, to this past year's draft were only 8 players from the whole HBCU are in the NFL. Okay, so it shows you what's happened because that conference, man, I'm going to tell you what, you want to talk about some football players. I mean, historically, they've just fed the NFL with great, great players. And I think with Deion Sanders coming in the league and now Eddie George getting a job at Tennessee State, that hopefully some of these kids are going to give them an honest chance to go there. And we'll see how it makes out. But you want to talk about NFL football players, the great players in that league. Man, I'm going to tell you, it was something to watch. When they had the players, it was something to watch.
I want to shout out my guy James Jimmy Blankenberg, excuse me. He's been a good friend for a long time. We used to get out there and hoop a lot too. His son Cody's been doing a great job playing football. Terry, I know you know him. So bring us present day, Terry, with the SWAC. And also that was Arkansas Pine Bluff that I didn't get to mention in that group. So I don't want no our Arkansas folks jumping on me when we come down there for one of them homecomings. That's the goal. Tell us what's going on with SWAC 2021 right now, Terry.
Man, the SWAC has been, I mean, I would say off the chain. I mean, I saw a post talking about what if FCS football stayed in the spring to give teams like the SWAC, like the North Dakota State, those kind of teams, the TV time that they deserve in the spring, where we just have kind of like this transition period where we're going into spring football and nothing's really on the TV. Maybe you got MLB, some stuff like that. Every Saturday, I was this last Saturday, I had the privilege to watch Jackson State versus Alabama A&M, and I saw a quarterback named Akil Glass have 7 total touchdowns, 6 passing and 1 rushing. I was able to see him play when I went a couple years ago to the Hall of Fame game where Morehouse played Alabama A&M, and I saw him play, and I saw the talent. I mean, I saw guys who looked like they could compete and maybe get their foot in, maybe even some Division I schools. I think a lot of times these schools don't get enough pub because they're not on TV. Like, you have to find their stats. Like, I remember a couple years ago, I was just doing history, seeing some good players in the league. You had to find them, and I think this would be a good chance for teams like Southern, Texas Southern, Jackson State, with the guys like Deion Sanders bringing these teams back up to life. Having them play in the spring would be a great chance for us to, feel the culture, the HBCU love. I was blessed and honored to go down there for a spring break trip. I went to Southern, Arkansas Pine Bluff, Texas Southern, Alabama A&M, Alabama State, shout out Coach Jones, but able to see and feel, the atmosphere. You were talking about homecoming. Every moment, I don't know if it was homecoming every day on these campuses, but it felt like homecoming. It felt like home. It felt like everybody that came together and loved on each other. And they got some athletes, man. I would not be surprised if they get some transfers, kind of like how Coach Tucker's doing right now, pulling some guys from big schools, getting their names in the in some draft talks as they perform and do well down there. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some second-round picks from the Patriots or the Chiefs getting some guy from Alabama State. Or again, they had a really good slot receiver. I can't think of his name right now. Alabama A&M, he goes to the Chargers. I wouldn't be surprised if we start hearing these names and hearing these schools, kind of like how we used to hear Ferris State, guys going into the NFL. I wouldn't be surprised if Deion Sanders, Eddie George kind of put their players on that pedestal to get them some looks in the NFL draft. So stay tuned for real. They got some talent down there.
No doubt. I want to keep you, Terry. We got a comment that's going to come up after the one from Aaron. We appreciate you too, Aaron. He's saying hopefully with the presence of Deion Sanders and Eddie George that more money is poured into those schools and those conferences. You're absolutely right. And to your point, when you mentioned Coach Mel Tucker, I want to put it out here right now. I want to put a healthy challenge out here to Coach Mel Tucker of representing the state of Michigan and Deion Sanders representing the state of Mississippi. Who can get the most recruits? Let's get a recruiting battle going on. Everybody wins. People end up at great schools, get great opportunity, but I would love to be able to see what's happening. And Terry, we got this guy named Orlando Watkins. His name is familiar. He wants to know, does Terry think that Deion is the real deal or all hype, and can he really make that difference?
I mean, I would say, you know, they did go 3-0 really quick, and everyone was loving it. Everyone was like, man, Deion's got Jackson State back on top. But then they started to run in some of the top teams down there in the SWAC, one being Alabama, A&M, Southern. Those teams, you know, really showed that Jackson State, they got some work to do. I know everybody was talking about Deion and, you know, all the other schools was hearing Jackson State. That puts that fire under some people's belt to like, hey, we're going to get in Jackson State's behind. Everybody want to talk about Deion and all that. So, I mean, you could definitely tell that it's a bit of a motivation factor because everyone knows that all eyes are going to be on Jackson State University. A lot of guys are going to try to get that publicity, you know, playing well against them, getting on TV, having their name. A guy like Akil Glass, great game against them, led them to beat Jackson State.
Great game against them.
I mean, it's like one of the things where it's like you constantly hear Deion's going to bring them, but other teams are like, hey, whoa, y'all still got some work to do. We the top dogs. So you kind of see that rivalry that you used to seeing back then with those teams playing against each other. It's cool to see that revived and some HBCU love, you know, on ESPN. I love it.
Yeah, Orlando made a good point. He said, we know Deion has brought the money to the league, referring to the Pepsi deal, which is huge, but can he actually get the job done? What do you think, to Terry's point, John, about, we got all this hype with Deion. I say that respectfully, but the boys still got to play, and that's still a program that needed to get some work done. What do you think?
Well, you now you know every coach in that conference wants to kick his ass. Come on, man. he can't hide, you know.
They say you didn't pay your dues like us out here.
Well, you know, I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. I mean, that's the athlete and people, and you know they're gonna want to beat the hell out of them. But what they need to do is I kind of like this. What Terry said. If maybe they play in the spring, they need. Let's face it, they don't have a TV contract. That hurts them. Yeah, money. I mean, you know, their facilities, how you travel, how you recruit, how much money's in your recruiting budget. You know what I mean? It costs a lot of money to have a good football team, and that's what those guys need. They need a spotlight. They need a stage. And it needs to generate some money for them.
And I think what this is doing, to Terry's point again about the exposure, and also to what Aaron has just said, I put on the screen. If nothing else, those two coaches have brought great exposure now than in the past. You're right, Aaron. The exposure is important because now it's also going to expose the disparities. Everybody's assuming that, you know, college football, you got these great facilities, and to Michigan State's credit, with this new $32 million donation. You know, from Matt Ishbia to the football program, Michigan State is going to be the crown jewel for recruiting opportunities. So, but you would walk on Michigan State campus and make the assumption that when you go down to Alabama A&M, that it's popping like that. Or you go to Jackson State, it's popping like that. You'd be like, man, my high school may look better than this. And like you, Terry, I had the black college experience some 20 plus years ago, obviously. I went to Morehouse as a freshman. Man, I remember – people were doing phone registration at the time, and we had to stand in line to register. And I don't even want to talk about the school's facilities, the sports facilities. Let's talk about even the dorm. So there's huge disparities that I think are going to be pointed out. Our guy Orlando Watkins has a comment. John, this is for you. He said, what did John think about most brands will start with HBCUs to test the environment and then move on? So like, I get it, Terry. I get it. I see what you're saying, Orlando. So I'm a startup company. I'm not an AT&T, a Pepsi, etc. But I want to put myself out there with a brand. And he goes on to say he believed Jordan outfitted HBCU before he went mainstream. Okay, we got to confirm that. But I get what you're saying. So what do you think about that, John? As far as these, some of your former business partners that you dealt with, that they would start with a HBCU before they move on to a quote unquote premier type opportunity outside of a HBCU?
Well, you know, there needs to be that kind of concentration, you know, you because there's so many people I've known that I grew up with that went to HBCUs and went to schools and got an education and really did things well. So I mean, we need to understand this and help these schools, like you were just mentioning about the dorm, the everything. Well, they've been neglected because at one point in time, that's the only place they could go to school.
Sure.
Let's not forget about this. Let's not forget about these schools giving a person a chance to go play football that they might not have got a scholarship offer from the Big Ten or the ACC or the Southeast Conference, and it gives them a chance to go. And just like Terry said many times, you know, give me that underdog, give me that guy that's got the fire in his belly, and it gives them an opportunity. But I think Terry's onto something. I think they should really look at seriously about playing in the spring and getting a contract for TV where there's no other football.
And I think there's opportunities out here, especially with live streaming and all the different things. You know, who knows? So with that, guys, we're going to get ready to bring this show to a close. What a great show, Terry. I want to thank you for being a great producer and putting this show together. John, I want to thank you for always bringing your past and present insight. Patrick, thank you for popping in as well. And also that guy that normally is on with us for this comments that he made. Shout out to Aaron Mays, also Albert Mass, all those who are watching, Terry Ben Ali, Jimmy Blackenberg, Luis as well. And Orlando says, outstanding job. And if you see me looking away from the screen, that's because they got the WNBA draft coming on. And man, beautiful walking down. Dana Evans. Oh my God, excuse me. I'm happy to see it, man, so I could do that. So with that, guys, I want to shout out the Streets of Talking Podcast Network. Also want to shout out Horatio Williams Foundation. Because of his support, we're able to bring this message to you guys, as well as our sponsors, Gilead Sciences and Dix. And shout out to the SWAC. You know, everybody who's listening down in Mississippi, we hope to come down there. Maybe it'd be for a spring game, or maybe it'd be for a homecoming. But with that, SPS edges out. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.